You're welcome to the Economy and Politics Show. I'm Moto Abasi Abasekong. In this edition, we look at critical issues ahead for Nigeria, the economic state, the push for cutting the cost of governance, and revenue generation issues. First, we look at the economic situation, which is challenging for Nigeria. At the moment, the foreign reserve stands at $29 billion. Inflation remains at 9%, while the monetary policy rate is 13%, leaving banks to really strategize in terms of raising funds to create more value in the financial market. This, of course, is a critical period for the federal government to tinker a robust economic policy plan as Nigerians await the unfolding of the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari. Now to even more pressing issues in the country, which is the clamor for the executive and legislative arm of government to cut the cost of governance. It continues to resonate across the nation. The Nigerian Labour Congress factional deputy president, Comrade Issa Aremu, last week advocated that the federal lawmakers should cut their allocation from 120 billion to 50 billion naira. That will save money and also help for reinvestment into the economy. Let's see how they'll react to this. Also last week, pundits and analysts have been exploring what happened in Senegal, which is the dissolution of the upper chamber, which is the Senate, to now adopt a unicameral legislature. But can Nigeria afford this kind of strategy? That's a big question. Presently, about 20 states are facing difficulties paying salaries to their civil servants. And this is not going down well with the civil servants and civil society groups like SERAP, which have already made moves to charge the state governments to cut. That's the International Labour Organization Forum. Also, the state governors under the aegis of the Governors Forum are meant to meet with President Muhammadu Buhari tomorrow, June 23rd, 2015. President Muhammadu Buhari has finally moved into the presidential villa Aso Rock. They are to meet to find a lasting solution to these challenges of not being able to pay salaries and also funding. The Revenue, Mobilization and Fiscal Commission has advised the governors to lead by example. They should cut cost of governance, and that is looking at the issue of their salaries, allowances. Some governors have already made some moves, like Governor El Rufai of Kaduna State and Governor Mohammed Bindo of Adamawa State. Now, even more disturbing is the fact that the National Bureau of Statistics released a report showing that about 13 states did not remit their internally generated revenue for 2014. One wonders what happened with that aspect. To the funding of projects, we now begin to ask how the state governments will carry this out. This is an arduous task for them, considering the challenges they have in paying salaries and maintaining states. And at the recent 54th Annual General Meeting of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, which was really a remarkable performance for 2014, the President of the Council, Mr. Aigboje Ike Imokwede, responded to the question of how prepared the Nigerian Stock Exchange is to really assist states with instruments like bonds. Watch what he had to say.
Finance and economics, there are two aspects to the funding of a government, whether at the national level or at the subnational level. If you look at the recurrent expenditures, typically you can say that where there are gaps and cash flow issues, you can resort to borrowing from banks or for government anyway, you can use some ways and means financing. But in classic finance, it's not appropriate for a government to fund infrastructure and the longer term type of services that it provides to its citizens. So typically you would approach the bond markets and the subnationals and of course the federal government have used the bond market as a means of funding its operations. We would like to see longer tenured bonds, particularly in the subnationals, but there is this overall challenge now of earnings. The public sector, that's at the federal level and at the state level, are very dependent on earnings from our crude oil exports, as you know. And of course, with the 50% crash in prices, that revenue has declined significantly. So I think a number of states are facing challenges, fiscal challenges, both of a short and a long-term nature. We have been a bit concerned, of course, about their ability to maintain their debt service obligations on the bonds. Thus far, we have not seen any state government disappoint us, but of course there are rules around fiscal responsibility, and they have to stick to those rules to ensure that they don't come under pressure, with respect to their existing borrowings. Going forward, we want to see much more interesting things, particularly in the infrastructure space. One of the reasons, of course, that I think the states are fiscally challenged is that even the bonds that they are raising, 7-year in tenure typically, should have been taken out a bit longer. That would have reduced the financing pressure. Of course, the overall issue of interest rates is there for us to contend with, and given where inflation is, you would of course expect that bond investors will want positive, real interest rates. So we must work on the economy and look at the basic structure of the economy, look at the issues of manufacturing, of exports, and try and dampen the current inflationary aspect based on the structural imbalances, that you have, in the Nigerian economy.
Finally, even more critical is the fact that some ministries and departmental agencies in government, like the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the National Ports Authority, and even the Federal Inland Revenue Service have not been fully remitting their revenues to the Federation account due to the stipulated constitutional provisions. This is a serious concern for the country. And Mr. Lufemi Awemi, an incisive financial analyst, and Mr. Ayo Teriba, a cerebral economist, both agree that this trend must change. The onus is now on the 8th National Assembly to push for a review of this, which will also help to restructure Nigeria's economy. And that will be all for this edition of the Economy and Politics Show. You can join us on our social media handles on Twitter, and also for robust, incisive, and very, very intelligent discussions. Our website, www.webtvng.com, is open. You could locate it for videos that show the trends in economy and politics, and also get to join us in giving incisive discussions on the state of our economy. Till when next we meet, thank you for watching. Let's keep faith in Nigeria and have a lovely day.